What if your next big idea, your next creative leap, or your next full body yes wasn't in your mind, but it was in your hips, your movement, or your breath?
I love this topic. I'm so excited to get into this one. Sensuality, creativity, and sensuality. And I guess we'll just start by telling a little bit of a personal story. For me, as an artist, obviously a lot of my output and my work lies in creativity, right? And it's so easy to get caught up in the mind, especially if there's like pressure or some sort of deadline, and just honestly to produce. And even just as women, not as the title of an artist, we are constantly creators. We are always creating life, a home, our day-to-day, our looks, whatever. It's so easy to get caught up in the mentality of that and the mental load versus embodying that creative output. And I feel like for a large part of my approach has been very conceptual, coming from putting pressure of like deadlines or having to come up with these concepts and ideas. And there have definitely been times where I personally have felt like this disconnect and frustration. And I think it's just part of the process. But
what would you say is a specific time that you felt that?
Well, I think it showed in all of my past creative outlets in terms of opening businesses, for one, or starting projects, like probably a business, I would say, like my first business, let's say. It's a very mental load, even though it was in a creative space. And I found myself not really fulfilling to an end,
right?
Really, or like really seeing it through because I kind of lost connection with it.
Right.
And it became very cerebral. And therefore, like my heart wasn't in it as much. But it was such a mental pressure to succeed, to fulfill, to grind, to show up, to produce, that I was not fully embodied in receiving the answers or the creative outlet that I needed to. And I never really connected those things until recently. And it actually the ideas came from books I was reading and people I'm following on social media who really embody like sensuality. And that's why I'm so eager to talk about sensuality in today's episode and how that is so intertwined into our output and creativity as women and as artists or just as human beings. And that's where the source lies.
For sure. And I think that as women, we're taught and, like we've touched upon in so many episodes so far, to kind of be in this space of productivity, which is so in the mind and in the head. And yet when we can bring our energy down into our body and down into our energetic center of sensuality in the sacral chakra, and you have to align yourself to source. And it all starts from there. It all starts from your prana, from your life force, to be able to put something out there that is full of your energy and who you are and your personality and your life, literally your life force.
Yes.
So it's, being in the mind is not a bad thing unless that's the only place that you're at. And so I think connecting to the body, connecting to that creative part of ourselves, is tying it all together is what really gives you the ability to create.
And that separation, I think that very separation of the mind and then the body and channeling and connecting those two is really why I think we're so stuck and why I had felt so stuck in so many projects and so much in the past of things I had worked on. And even if I had seen things, when I do see things to an end, it's been really like a push to do it, to finish it, just to say that you don't quit. Right.
Right.
So anyway, let's jump in today's episode. We're excited for you guys to be here with us. And yeah, this is a visual podcast. So if you aren't watching us, you can feel free to head on any major platform like YouTube and Spotify to hang out with us visually as well. So let's dive in.
I know it's wrong, but I don't care.
I feel like throughout history, through modern day history, I guess, it's been almost frowned upon and made to that you feel shameful or ashamed to be an openly sexually or sensually expressive woman. I almost, I almost feel like you're either one of two things, and it's either you're a slut or you're a goody two shoes.
Yeah.
And
the good girl.
You're the good girl. And I feel like for women to genuinely just want to express their sensuality and connect to their body and connect to that deep parts of themselves and express it outwardly in any way, shape, or form is looked at as such a taboo thing in so many ways. I think that we've come an incredibly long way, and it's much more accepted now, and it's much more expressed now more than ever before. But it's like we're being told that we shouldn't be connecting to that parts of ourselves. And yet that is where I believe we hold our deepest power.
Well, maybe that's why it is oppressed, because we don't want, we as in like
not us,
society or capitalism, whatever, don't want women to have access to their full power, because you could do anything you want.
Who run the world?
Worlds.
What?
Women and girls. Worlds. Worlds. Women and girls.
Yeah.
And those in between.
Yeah.
And yeah, but also I find that like, don't you notice that certain roles also have acceptance of like, okay, that person is the role of, like you said, the slut. So it's expected she's like a very sensual person,
right?
Versus like someone for me is an artist who I follow, and she's like so in tune with her sensuality, but it's not expressed in a distasteful way.
Right.
It's
actually
not
derogatory.
It's a very inspiring way. And she's like
very
one of the
spiritual.
people, very spiritual. She's one of the people that actually like inspire me the most into exploring, tap into my own sensuality, because she does it in a way that's like educational.
Yeah.
For the good, rather than it's like showing off for attention.
Right. Right.
And then you have other roles who are seen as like mothers who are like, oh, you know, you're a mother now, you have to be careful of how you express yourself, what you show your younger daughter, and what young girls are looking at, so be mindful. Versus like, no, we should be openly talking about these subjects and how important it is to be in touch with one's sensuality, which I think it's important. Now we go into what the difference is between sexuality and sensuality, because I find often those two words are very crossed and confused with each other.
So sexuality and sensuality, very different,
but also go hand in hand.
Of course of course they go hand in hand. So how would you describe the difference in the two?
Well, I guess I would describe sexuality as what you're into in terms of like
your sexual preferences.
Yeah. I was gonna say, how do you express that? How you get off, I guess, who you're into, what you're attracted to,
right?
Who you're attracted to, what you're attracted to. And sensuality, I would say, is more of like an embodiment practice, where it allows you to access the depths of your parts of yourself that go beyond like a physical expression, such as sexuality.
It's such an energetic and spiritual thing.
Yeah.
I believe that that's for me, the way that I would describe the difference is that sexuality is more of a physical, the physical perspective on
an
act. And sensuality is more of like an energetic, spiritual connection to yourself. And no one else has to be involved in your own sensuality. You can.
Or sexuality, because some people
What's
it called? A-type?
Asexual.
A-type. I'm A-type.
Yeah, you're A-type.
Asexual is what I'm thinking about.
Yeah. But I would say that that's how I would kind of differentiate the two.
Yeah. We often see productivity as its own channel, and then sensuality as its own channel. Like there's a time to be productive, there's a time to be sensual. And why are those two separate things? I'm wondering, like, where do we learn how to separate the two and sever that connection, rather than realizing that the sensuality is the source of the efficiency and productivity?
Well, I think that it's different for men and women. And I'm not a man. I've never been a man, so I can't speak from their perspective. But I do feel like it's so different for men and women in the sense that, like you were saying at the beginning of the episode, women are creators. We create life. We create the home. We are creators. And so I think for women to tap into their sensuality and use that as their power to express their productivity in a way or create, has been so turned off in our world, because it is a very male-driven schedule. It's a very male-driven hierarchy. It's
masculine?
Right. Like, in terms of, the 9-to-5 workday, because a man's hormone cycle is a 24-hour cycle. So their peak hormones are between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. And so I think that the productivity is so
cyclical.
Yeah, and it's just so focused on being the priority and separate from sensuality, because that's not how men operate. Men are much more physical beings and are productive through their physical selves, through their mind. They operate from those two places, whereas I think the place that women operate best from is their divine feminine, is their intuition, is their sensuality, everything that has to do with energy and creation and creativity. And so I think that it's been very easy to split those up into two different categories because of the masculine kind of scheduling and structure that we have to our lifestyle now. And I think that if we were to go back and not expect women to produce like men and not expect women to have a schedule like men, it's actually really funny. Total side note, but I love this stand-up comedy skit. There was a woman who did a sketch and she was like, I can't remember her name, so I'll have to find it and we'll tag it here. But she's like, I just want to know, like, who was it that fought for women to have all these rights?
Yeah, I know. I love seeing those memes, like those videos.
And she's like, cause like, you know, like, who decided that we needed to go to work?
You saw those memes where they on TikTok, they're like,
yeah, so funny. I'm gonna beat that bitch up.
You like cry before you have to go to work because you're like,
why did you want to go to work? Why didn't you want to just stay home all day? Why didn't you want to?
And they were like,
yeah. I mean, of course, you know, I'm not saying at all that I agree with that. I think
obviously,
that women, of course, need to have equal rights and deserve to have equal rights. But I think kind of what I'm circling it back to is that there was a time that women were allowed to be women a little bit more. And
that's a bold statement.
And
that's a huge statement.
Yeah. And I think that it was more accepted in society and not looked down upon for a woman to work at building and creating the home.
Well,
and
that was
work on
the value.
Literally simple, like, I don't want to say simple
value.
things, but like doing their stitch, what's that? My granny used to do it, like crocheting and stitch work and
embroidery or whatever.
Embroidery and all these things. Like that was like, oh, like, and it wasn't looked at like lesser than. It was like, oh, my wife creates these beautiful things.
Well,
and
now you can see it, culture kind of starting to circle back to that, because we were realizing we're such a reliant mass in society. Like if we get a blackout, we're going to be fucked in a lot of ways. Or the power grids go out, like what do we do? So I feel like homesteading is like a huge, and then homeschooling's on the rise. Homesteading's on the rise because people are like, I want to be self-sufficient. I want to know how to grow my own food. And you were realizing like you can't be all those things. There's no way you can do all the things. Right. So you have to reframe, what does success look like and feel like for me? And if that is being like, you know what, I feel happy and joy when I'm at my home, creating an environment and space for my family. Like we're learning how to create clothes and like these are skills passed down usually through generations that are now
very lost,
but also now we're getting access again.
But I would say that, you know, when I am feeling most connected to my sensuality, hands down, well, I mean, it's got to do with a few things, but hands down.
I mean, hands on.
What? Hands on. But I would say that when I feel most connected to my sensuality is definitely when I am in a creative space. Like when I am working or focusing on something that's creative. Like I swear my girlfriend and I, Alyssa, did one of those like paint by numbers, which by the way is a real bitch. There's like
lots
5 trillion tiny little dots with a number that you can barely read. Anyway, we were like, let's do a paint by numbers. But my point being, we were working on it for a few nights and I was like, I love painting. Like, why am I not doing more of that? So then Josh and I did the portrait night,
Right,
like right
yeah,
after
yeah.
that. And then I started doing painting with the girls all the time, and I could feel it. Like I could feel it myself connecting to myself more. And it might not be painting for everyone. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be that type of creative outlet. But I do feel like when I get into those spaces where I am creating more, whatever it is, cooking in the kitchen, working on this project with you, like those are the moments that I definitely am able to harness my sensuality more. And then it's expressed in my life. It's like a full circle.
Well, how does your sensuality come out? Or is it because you're more connected to creative practices that you're feeling more sensual within yourself?
Yeah, within
is what you're
myself,
saying?
like within myself. Like
Okay.
I feel the only way that I can explain it is the energy centers. And some people might relate to this, some people might not. But, you know, I think that a lot of people will identify energy centers as chakras, whatever you want to call them. But there's energy centers throughout the body. Different, you know, groups of people will call them different things. But the more I have those aligned through and through, connecting to source, the more sensual I am, the more creative I am. So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
So where do you feel resistance within your own sensuality?
When I have to be masculine in my life, when I have to have a masculine energy to get through my day, like there's a total disconnect to my sensuality entirely.
I almost feel like there has to be such a balance between the masculine and feminine because you can't have one without the other, right? So it's like, it's not practical for us to never live in these masculine traits of being productive and efficient and realistic and logical. Like it goes hand in hand with the feminine. But I think it's just because we've overcompensated and it's prioritized to overcompensate in those qualities in our society and Western culture, that often the feminine side of like flow and ease and sensation and cyclical living is often not, it doesn't have as heavy of an importance on it as, or value.
Hardly not at all.
As the masculine does. So I feel like it's very important to have masculine. And it's really like it's always on a spectrum of how people lay on those things. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut off your train of thought, but
that's totally accurate. And, you know, like as a woman, the best place you can be, I feel, in order to be able to connect and express your sensuality in the best way you can is when you feel like safe and supported and connected.
Yeah.
And so anytime there's a moment or experience where you feel like, for example, when you're a mom, like you're mama bear, like you do feel like you have to protect your children, right? So I've like, if there's ever moments like that, not like you said, not to say that there shouldn't be a balance between the masculine and feminine, but I would say the more moments you have where you feel unsafe or unprotected or disconnected emotionally to yourself, to others, that's when the sensuality is going to suffer.
So really when we talk about sensuality and what we mean when we say sensuality is this ability to feel within yourself, right? And to really be able to access the full spectrum of how you feel within yourself, if that makes sense.
Totally. And it's kind of difficult to explain sensuality unless you've experienced it in its fullest, I think. Because you really do, like, how would you describe it?
I would say it's about being in the moment, being fully present, because like kind of how I was kind of saying at the beginning with like being very cerebral.
Yeah.
You're logically thinking, planning, doing, you're in the mind versus like being in the body.
Yeah.
And sensuality is really like being connected. Like, you know, when you're making love or with your partner and stuff, there's differences when your brain is in it, your mind's in it, and your mind's out of it, and you're like fully embodied and present. Like, and for women, you know, to be turned on and to be sensual with somebody and open up, it requires so much more depth than just physical touch, right? There's like an all day emotional build up, safety, like you were saying, in order to be in your own body. And then a lot of the times, like even from my own experience in my past, like there's only a correlation of sensuality being saved for when you're with somebody.
Right.
And we're not really like taught or
Encouraged.
to be celebrated by ourselves,
Right.
with ourselves. Unless when you're like young and you're like discovering like, oh my God, this is what an orgasm is.
Right.
And you're like, you're a vile teen, like just
Yeah.
all in it, right? Letting loose, discovering your body, but it's a new sensation for everything, but you're not really connected to, or maybe like properly educated, unless you have somebody who really can pass down this knowledge, or you have
Right.
access to the power of that. It's kind of more of like a hush hush taboo.
Totally.
You keep that to yourself. You do that in your private time. You don't really talk about it. It's kind of like embarrassing to say like, oh, I masturbate all the time. And
Right.
it's just like, it's more, you can talk openly about having sex with your partner, or
Right.
having sex with somebody and hooking up culture, and that be like more of a celebrated thing, and even
acceptable.
And it's not even really including the sensual side of that
Right.
experience. It's
Right.
more like the act of doing things.
Right.
Like even I remember when I was a young teenager, it's just more like, I hooked up with a guy.
Yeah.
Like it's so exciting. And
Yeah.
it's just like to say that I did it. And it's like this
Yeah.
barrier that you cross of like this passage, like, oh, now I'm like becoming a woman, you know?
Like,
and was I really into it?
Mm.
Not really. Like
Yeah.
it was more just to say I could, you know?
And like a physical, like, oh, he's hot.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for it.
Yeah. You get the attention. Oh, he kissed me. And,
Yeah.
But like,
Oh,
do you
we made
remember
out.
that separate, like when you really first felt like sensual
Yes.
and passion with somebody, like
And,
that
like-
was a switching moment.
And like making love, I would say, is how people probably describe it in the more used terms.
with yourself and with somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can just get off yourself and just rush to get to that feeling of having an
Right.
orgasm, just to finish, just to feel that feeling, versus like going along the journey of like slowly building up and taking your time with yourself and enjoying that rise.
And I feel like energetically you sit in a different space.
Yes.
Like whether it's on your own or with a partner, I really do feel like when you're tapped in and tuned into the depths of your sensuality, energetically, you are in a different space. And
You're in the
again,
cosmos.
You are. It's like you're out there looking in.
Yeah.
And like your energy is expanded so far out into
Yes.
a realm that is not tangible and physical in this world.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
you can, and if whole other thing is that when your partner can get there too,
Yeah.
and then you're in that space together, it's like you're floating through the universe. I can't even explain it in any other way.
Well, that's like tantra. How do
Yeah.
you- Tantra.
Tantra. Yeah.
Like that's like, so that's a new interest for me in terms of just like the whole concept of it, and like just breathing
Mhm.
with each other, just taking your time with each other, really connecting in that way.
Yeah.
And like the yin and yang energy of one another, and just experiencing these moments. It's such a profound, unique experience.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's so many layers and depths to it that I don't think we really realize the connection that holds to our experience of life and just living in general,
Mm-hmm.
and how we even experience our day to day, and then how that connection to that sensuality, mostly within ourselves, because we can't be reliant on somebody else to do that and reach that for us,
Yeah.
will open up the gates to more creative power and knowledge
In all
within
aspects
ourselves,
of our lives.
every aspect of
Yeah.
our life, and how we show up.
Right. Not just partnership, not just relationship with yourself, but in your world, in your business, in
Mhm.
your creative outlets, in your home
Yeah.
environment, in every aspect.
It's like a secret weapon, a secret medicine. They say, like, you know, when you're in labor and you're trying to move things along too, like try to have an orgasm. Healthy skin is so funny. There was a podcast episode I heard about where it's just like, oh, you want glowing skin? Just have an orgasm. Because like the amount of dopamine
Yeah.
that was it oxytocin? Is it oxytocin? Serotonin? I'm just saying chemical names, but the good one, the happy hormone,
One of the happy ones.
gets released, and that does only wonderful things for your body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, use orgasm as skincare because it'll make your skin glowing.
I love this quote. I'm going to read it.
Okay.
My most alive ideas didn't come from spreadsheets.
They came from spread legs. Was that it?
No, but that was great.
Oh,
Well done.
thanks.
You're quick. My most alive ideas didn't come from spreadsheets. They came when I was walking slowly, dancing in my kitchen, touching my skin, or crying under the moon. And I feel like
So
that
true.
is such a great way to describe the difference of like getting out of the head, getting into the body. And that's where you are going to connect to yourself and to source the most to be able to channel.
But that's also a great quote for acknowledging that sensuality doesn't just come from touch, the physical,
And
right?
like sex.
And sex and
Or
like touching
sexual
yourself, right?
acts.
It comes from
Yeah.
slow walking, slow breathement, like really
Oh my gosh,
being in the
dancing.
moment.
I probably feel my most sensual and most powerful when I'm dancing. Watch out.
That's
You ever seen me dancing down the street? Watch out. Watch out.
She's in her sensuality. That's what made me think. I'm like, when do I feel the most sensual? When do I feel the most sensual? I feel like I feel the most sensual. It's kind of like counterintuitive. Like when I'm finished a project, like a creative project.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's like, it's such a roller coaster of emotions and rides and like crying because I can't finish it and then feeling so defeated and then looking at a piece and being like, I love it. This is amazing. I'm amazing. And then like those highs make me feel so connected to myself and like I can do anything. And then you go back down to a low. So I feel like once I've completed something and gone through that roller coaster of emotion and energy, that's when I'm just like, I am ready for the next project of creativity and creation. Like, let me do that. But kind of like wrapping back to my very first story at the beginning of this episode
Wrap it back.
was I didn't realize the power and understanding of sensuality and connection to my own body. And even like you were talking about energy sources, like in the sacral, like right in the womb space, which is where we create life, how much energy and power that holds in completing work even and being productive. Because it's almost like we separate those two, being like, you be this or that, but they're so interconnected that once you're like embodying
and
yourself and practicing your intuition and taking time to do self-care and self-work and taking time to touch yourself softly, trace your arm while you're watching a show, like go for barefoot walks, really feel the ground. That's when the inspo strikes.
Right.
Like it's not when you're like thinking, you're like, think of a solution.
Right.
And you go for a walk and all of a sudden I have the answer or whatever, you get high
for sure.
For whoever you are, you know?
Yeah. But I think that that's what it circles back to. I think that, you know, like some of the different ways that you can slowly start to try and tune in and tap into that part of yourself and into your sensuality would be something like going on a slow walk. You know, but also I think that the first step doesn't have to be. I think that a great first step is being comfortable in the topic itself.
And
like,
the last step doesn't have to end in an orgasm either.
Right. Like this is a connection to your body and your energy, not
the goal, reaching the end goal.
Right. So tuning in, but I think that for a lot of people, not just women, talking about the energetic space of sensuality is so unfamiliar and so uncomfortable. And so, like you said, I mean, it's essentially never talked. I shouldn't say never. It's hardly talked about.
Yeah.
And, you know, not made to be the prominent part of that portion of being human.
Yeah.
But like you said, hooking up and all this stuff is like so acceptable, but why are we not talking about the energetic
exchange that's happening?
Right. And like the flip side of the coin.
Yeah.
So I think that really accepting it first and being okay with it and then being comfortable to talk about it, even if it's just with yourself, is like step one. And then doing slow, intentional.
It's so connected to like, right. If you're in a space where you're really disconnected from your body, like you have a discomfort in the way that you look and how you feel about yourself. Like, I'm not worthy of touch, so I'm going to avoid it until I'm like skinny or look a certain way. Yeah. And then I can accept love. Like, I think that is a huge root cause of a disconnect from sensuality.
Oh yeah.
Is the inability to really accept yourself in the first place.
Right.
So you can feel worthy of that love
Yeah.
that you are trying to pour into yourself and give to yourself. So it's like this full cycle. So let's start talking about ways that we can start embodying sensuality in a very practical day-to-day way.
I mean, something as simple as eating with presence.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
being conscious of what it is that you're eating, how you're eating, how the
You're
average
nourishing yourself.
person
Yeah.
is supposed to chew one bite of food 34 times for optimal digestion.
There's no way.
34 times.
I barely chew. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly, though.
But
We're always in such a rush.
yeah,
And we're always just like powering through and like rushing through meals. Just with something so simple as that, like just being more present in your eating, what it is that you're eating, how you're eating it, how does it feel in, close your eyes, how does it feel in your mouth, how does it taste, like what are your senses telling you? Something as simple as that can start to get you creating those brain pathways of connecting and tuning into your body and your senses.
something simple as slowing down too, because like rushing through food, we rush in other areas of life too. I mean, I'm definitely guilty for that. Like there's
we all
places
are.
to go, things to do, right?
People
But
to
it's
see.
people to see. But like if we can, I see like a really cool video of it, like when you're walking and then the person stops and it's just like, oh yeah, like I can take slower steps.
Right.
And you're being mindful of that.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a retreat that I actually did last summer with my mom and Sam, where it was just like, while you're walking, feel every part of your foot as you step on the ground. Like it's called like a forest meditation. So, and you do that in other areas of your life. Like when you're sitting here, feel like what parts of your body are sitting against the chair. Like you're just doing small, simple acts within what you're already doing.
Right.
To just become a bit more conscious of the body that you're in.
Yeah.
Versus always just spending so much time shielding and covering and masking.
Or just being so external, you're not actually present within the physical self.
Right.
There is a phenomenal author, speaker, energy worker. My mom is actually a coach for her now. And her name is Sue Morter. And her book is great, but she refers to in her work of how so much of our energy is spent outside of ourselves, thinking about this, thinking about the future, thinking about the past, thinking about what are they feeling, like all this energy outside of ourselves. And so one simple thing that she really inspires people to do is when you catch yourself, as often as you can, come back into the body and then look at everything and experience everything from within your own body. And it's incredible. Once you actually start doing it, you're like, whoa, you have way more energy because your energy is always being expended outside of yourself.
So I feel like that's a really great idea. I can step away from this, be like, oh yeah, I want to do that. But then you forget. So like, what's a simple way you can remind yourself to do that type of thing?
I mean, it's like, totally off topic, but it's like when you're trying to practice how to have a vivid dream, you start to train yourself slowly. It's building a muscle. So I don't know if you've ever heard this. If you want to learn how to have vivid dreams, which is a dream where you can control your dream.
Isn't that like astral traveling?
Yes and no. That's a whole other discussion that I don't have time to jump into at the moment.
Yeah.
But they say that time does not exist in your dreams. So in order to know when you're dreaming and gain understanding that you're in a dream, which from that point forward you can then control it, is to check the time. So one of the things they say is you can wear a digital watch, and as often as you can remember throughout the day, check your watch, check your watch, check your watch. Because
I remember you telling me this. Yeah.
In your dream, it will become your automatic like
conscious reaction to
check your watch, and then you'll realize that there's either no time or it's a time that doesn't, like 800, that's not a time. So then that's when you can move forward. So I would say using that same method as often as you can, try and think about it. Maybe it's only once a day, and then it's twice a day, and then it's 10 times a day. But it's like a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it will get.
I have a really good suggestion. Maybe I'm going to say it because I want to do it. Well, we met through dance. So dance is a big part of like, I think it's great. I think everybody should dance. I think dance is just like a human fundamental way of life. And same thing like music, right? It's just a part of who we are as human beings.
All cultures all across the world are connected
to that, to dance and music. So I feel like, as you were talking about the energy centers previously, a really great way to reconnect to that movement and the body is through, because the energy center of creativity and sacral is right here in the hips, is how to, and especially for women, like energy gets blocked in the body, you get locked up, it's all connected, as though, even though there's like a very physical scientific explanation for why things aren't aligned on a cellular spiritual level, things that you don't see, energy and emotion hold reverence in the body and can be stagnant and can cause issues and be related to health issues. So for women specifically, like the pelvis, the hips, the creative energy force we know lies in the womb space. So in order to like incorporate maybe a few hip circles and movement, and even like, we love Sahara Rose, like she talks a lot about like twerking and that being like a genuine practice for women,
right,
to shake and release
the energy from that
and
space.
We're in such like sit down culture and laptops and screens and computer work. Like we don't often dance or move as much as we nearly used to.
So should we have a dance party at the end of this episode?
I 100% think we should. Okay, we will. We need to release. And as we're wrapping up this season with such a powerful, strong topic that I think will kind of just propel us into the next phase of what we're going to be talking about with some amazing people. I cannot wait to talk more in depth about these types of things. So it's very exciting.
It is very exciting.
I think ultimately with sensuality, it all comes down to how can we embody that and make that a way of just being. You know, when you see a woman, you could be like, she's so in touch with herself. She's so confident and she's so just like exudes femininity and power. And guarantee you, those are the women that are so in tune with their sensuality, not as a performance, but as a part of who they are, like a genuine part of who they are. So how do we do that? You know, let's call it in for all of us.
Yeah. Well, I would say, you know, I mean, we obviously have talked about a couple things that we can bring into our own lives to hopefully gain more awareness and more presence within our body and connect to that sensuality. But we would love to hear from you guys, you know, what's one thing that you have done or that you feel you can do that feels connected more to your sensuality in the day, you know, whether it's just like touching your own skin or working on a creative project. Please let us know, because we are also still working on this within ourselves and it's an ever changing and ever growing journey.
Yeah, it's not even a daily practice for me yet, but I would love for it to be a part more of my day, because I would love to just be the ultimate sensual creative power machine within myself. We
all have within us.
We do.
So please share your stories with us. We would love to hear what you have to offer, what you have to say, or maybe, you know, just a reflection. Let us know if you heard something in this episode that resonated with you or you felt you were able to take and put into your own daily or weekly practice and see how it works for you.
Yeah, inspire us. Let us know. DM us at the Honey Toast Podcast. Anyway, it was so great hanging out with you guys and talking to you. We never want this to end. So we'll see you next time at the Honey Toast Podcast.
Wrap it up. Wrap up this season and we'll see you in the next one. Honeys, out.